Hello everyone. What we'll do today is to see how to test your Spark application or Spark application jar on local laptop. This is assuming you have done you have completed your Spark program and done the unit testing. Now, how to do unit testing? You can run your Spark on your, using the local master URL. Uh, but assuming you have done that and unit testing is over, now you want to test your Spark jar on a cluster, on a Spark Yarn cluster. So generally the process is you test, you write the code, do the unit testing, push the code to your GitHub or whatever repository you're using. CI/CD takes over, and assumingly you have the integration test cases also. CI/CD runs your unit test cases, integration test cases, and things like this. So if the and if anything fails in the in the integration test, then the build fails and you have to come and fix it. So idea here is that what if you could test on the server itself, on a Hadoop, not server, on a Spark cluster itself before pushing your code to GitHub, so that you avoid any build failures or things like this. So again, reiterating, this is after you have done the written your code, done the unit testing. Now you want to run the jar, you create a jar, and now you want to run the jar on the Spark cluster. So one of the problem people face for such type of testing is they don't have a Spark setup on the local environment. You can always run Spark in local mode, but what if I want to run Spark on Yarn? And also I need Hive, for example. So you might not have that environment other than your dev cluster or QA cluster or production cluster. So for that purpose, I have created an image here. So you can say this image. So this image uses Spark 3.3 and Hadoop 3.3.4. When I say Hadoop, it has Hdfs, it has Yarn, and it has Hive also. So Hive 3.x is also installed into this. So if you want to test your program on Spark with Yarn, with Hive, you can take this image, and then test your application there. So what we are going to do in today's video is to see how this can be done. So let's do first thing first. We'll go to our Spark program. And what I have done is it's a very simple program. And if you see, I have given the master URL as Yarn. It runs on Yarn. And just println and hello world, forget about it. And only thing I do is I have a file, basically, which has, which is comma separated file. And it's a text file which has name, date, and amount. So this file, this program, the file is, you pass the name of the file as an argument, or directory of the file as an argument. And this file which you are passing in argument, or the directory which contains these files, which you are passing as these arguments, those files should have the schema based upon this schema, name, date, and amount. And this can be comma separated file. So only thing I do is I read this from the argument which you have passed. I show the data. It could be only 3-4 records just for testing, for example, and write that to Parquet file. So idea here is to not to go through this program. This could be any program which you might have written. This is just a sample dummy program I have written for showcasing. But what we'll do is we will create a jar out of it, and then we will run that jar on the Spark Docker image. Now, if you're using SBT, this is the SBT file. So if you're using SBT, this is how you give your Spark dependency. This is Spark Core, Spark SQL. So this is how you give the dependency. And then once you have written the code, testing, unit testing is done, you can click on package. So it will create you see this SBT console here, SBT window here, then click on package. It will create a jar out of this. And you can see the jar also. Now, once the jar is there, you want to deploy this jar on the Spark cluster, single node Spark cluster, for example. And that's what my image is. So what we'll do while this is getting built up, we will pull that image and deploy on our local environment. So let's go there. So as you can see, there is no image for time being. Yes, there is no image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and pull this image. So it says this tag name, and tag name is use latest. I mean, latest is same as what is the version here. So you can use latest. So let's do that. Okay, because I created image from my laptop only, it exists. So the push refer to Docker S3 and an image doesn't exist locally with the tag. So let me see how to pull this. Yeah, so it should be pull. My mistake. It is I was on my view because I pushed this image, so it was showing push. So you should say pull, and let's wait for it to be pulled. So it already exists. So now if I see and say Docker images, it will show me this image which I pulled. I had built this 2 days ago, so it's showing that I have not cleared the cache or things like this. So this is the image. Now I want to start a container from this image. So this container command is Docker. This is a Docker container. So I'll explain this command. This command is you are running a container from this image. You see this image name is E1AB, whatever D99. This image name and this is same. So I'm creating a container from this image. Now I'm exposing a port from the container. So localhost 9870 will redirect to the container 9870. So 8088. So is the case with 4040. So is the case with 18080. So basically on your local laptop, if you point to host to IP address 9870, localhost colon, sorry, not IP address, port localhost colon 9870, it will hit the container 9870, and we'll see how does that work, because these are ports from we installed Hadoop and everything. So you want to see the Yarn UI. So I'll show you that. So now this is a port, and this is the volume, and this is first part in the volume you give is, in the volume you pass, this information. So the dummy folder under my home folder, this tilde is home. So dummy folder under my home folder is exposed as a host data folder on the container, and we will see that. So and then this is the image name, and D means detached mode, and this is the image name. And then when this image runs, when this container starts, I don't want it to exit immediately. So I'm giving tail -f /dev/null. It will make sure container keeps running. So let's run this. So no. So container got started. You can see container docker ps. So this container got started. Now I can log in inside this container. Now, while I log in this container, now you can see, right? I have exposed a folder called dummy subfolder under my home folder as a host data on the container. So whatever jars we want to put, access in the container, this your Spark application will be wrapped inside a jar which you want to test using Spark Submit. So that jar can be inside this dummy subfolder under home folder. So we'll see that. So I think the package got created. So let's see, and you can see this under, let's go to terminal and let's say date. So I think we might have started around 5 minutes back. So if you go to if I see the content of the file under target, you can see the test, this jar got created. Sorry, this is Scala. Where am I? PWD. I'm already here. Sorry, ls-ltr. And you can see this 16:27 it got started, and right now it's around 5 minutes we build this after clicking on package. Now this jar I want to move it, copy to dummy folder so that it is accessible via container, and dummy folder is on my local host machine only. So I copy this and go here and I say to the cp. So I am in this directory where my Spark test project is. I am in this directory. So in this directory, I run the cp command, basically copying the jar into dummy folder. So I'm in dummy folder now. Now let's go to the container. So docker exec. I'll explain this container command also to you in case you do not know. E1AB. So Docker exe means we are, and Docker exe -it means we are trying to, execute something in Docker in an interactive mode. And what is we are trying to execute something in Docker container in interactive mode. -it means, interactive mode. And this is the container. You see EL11, you don't have to give the full name. Even 3 EL1 will also be fine. As long as you don't have two containers which starting with EL1, then it will ask you to give more characters here. So I'm giving ELAB. And what you want to do is you want to run bash. So what it will do is it will go to the bash prompt of the container. So go here. Right, I gave the image name, my mistake. So I should have given this container ID. So this is FE20. So I'm inside the container, and you can see this data which is coming from the local host loaded on this folder. So what we'll do is I'll say ls-ltr and check host data. So you can see this file is already there, correct? And so this is the time on the, or this is the UTC time on the container, the 13.4, and I just put this file 1 minute back. Now I also saved a a.txt file, and let's see what is the content of this a.txt. This is the for the purpose of running our test program. We wanted some data to be inputted, so that data I have created here. So let's say host data a.txt. So it contains just one line, name, date, and some amount. This adheres to this schema which I have posted here. And by the way, this whole code is in the jar now. Now what we'll do is I will say we'll upload this file onto Hdfs so that our program can access Hdfs -ls. Then let's see what are the folders there. There's nothing. So let's create one folder in on Hdfs. So mkdir and say my app input. So I created this folder. Now if you see this, you will be able to see this folder here. Now I'm going to upload this file there. So hdfs dfs-put and this file host data a.txt, and it should go in this folder. So Control V. Now if I see this ls and see this file should be dfs, it should give the right name, and you see the a.txt appears here. So what we are going to do now is we are going to run our program which we have uploaded, and it's under host data, jar is under host data, and this is the command we'll use to run. So spark submit. This is the class name is main. I don't have any package given here, and our jar is under this folder, and it takes two parameters. This program takes two parameters. One is where to read it from, then it prints the data and it reads in a text format and writes into Parquet format. And where does it write? That also you have to pass is then second argument. So we're passing the second one, and this second directory should not be existing. If you know Spark already, it will create itself. So this directory should not be existing. The output directory, the input directory should be existing because the data will be there in that input directory. So, so let's do this. So what we're going to do is we are going to run the Spark submit program. And if you see, we had exposed some ports. So let's go to which ports we have exposed. 9870. So let's see what is in 9870. Localhost 9870. This is your sort of HDFS view. You can see the various things, browse the file system, and you can see the files, various files, input and output I've just created. And there was another port which we had exposed, that was 8088. Let's see what is in 8088. This is the Yarn view. So this is your application which is running, right? Spark application on Yarn. So you can see from the Yarn also, right? So you can see all the details. Like if you have known the Yarn, then you will know. Sorry, this don't click on history, but you can see the, I think this application got over by now. Yes. Sorry, these logs are not still accessible. So I'll look into this, and this is on 8042 port. And I don't think I've exposed 8042 port yet. So, but I will expose. And while you're running, you can expose 8042 yourself also. So just matter of entering 8042 colon 8042, and you will be able to see the logs as well. Correct. What else? 18080 will be exposed. So this is the history server. You can see your Spark application here. And you can, this is a completed job. You can see the details here. I mean, whatever you want, this is completed. So you can click on this. You can see the details, whatever. And now this is, this is the details of this job which I run. It's a pretty simple job, so not much to see. But when you run the heavy jobs, you can see various things here, and you can see that on your local laptop itself before having it run on any dev server or any other server. So that's about it. So this job got over, and you could see here I just put localhost 4040. Let's try that if that also works. So this is 18080. I never tried, so I'm trying for the first time here. 4040. Yeah, so I think you can see your Spark applications from here only on 18080 port. And what else? Now what you should do is you have written in Parquet format, and we read from the Parquet format also here. We just wrote it. We have not read it. So what we can do is, and we wrote it into this location. Whatever we have passed here in my output one. So let's see if anything is there or not. So output goes into my output one. And you can see something is written in Parquet format. Now, if you want to read it and test it, either you write some program, like your integration test should be reading and validating things itself. But if you want to manually do it, then one of the things you can do is you can go to Spark Shell for this image. If you want to go to Spark Shell, I will add it here also, but in the documentation here also, but you can run this command. So go to Spark Shell. And the reason I'm giving Postgres is because here the Spark metadata I have saved in Postgres. So generally, you can save in, if you, sorry, not Spark, Hive metadata I have saved in Postgres. If you install Hive by default, then the default database is Derby, which is sort of in memory. So in this image, Docker image, I have installed the Postgres database, and Hive is saving its metadata into Postgres database. So to log into the Spark shell, you have to give the Postgres library fnjar. I mean, if you normally run your Spark program and in using Spark submit, then you don't have to do anything. Then basically you just have to just run your Spark submit like I have run like this. So now, only for Spark shell, you have to give this, Postgres jar -packages packages, and then Postgres jar. Now, how do I test what I have written? So you can run this command. This was a directory where I have saved it, right? So I'm just reading it back from here and then just displaying it. Okay, so this is what I inputted, this is what I have outputted. Generally, your Spark application will have a lot of business logic or things like this. So this intention of this video was not to show you the complexity of a Spark program, but to show you how you can run your Spark application on a Spark cluster, which works on Yarn, which is set up with Yarn and Hive. Another thing which we wanted to test was if I create a table using Spark SQL, if that appears on Hive or not. So let's create some dummy table. So I created a table with employee ID, which has just I created a table called my test, which has just one column called employee ID. I created using Spark SQL. So now let's go to Hive and see this table appearing there or not. I did not give any Hive database name, so this table should appear in the default database. So you can say show tables, and you can see this my test appears here. This was a name, and let's describe this table. Describe my test, and it has a column called imply ID varchar 10, which I had created. So if you say, so this table we created from Spark, and we could see this in Hive, because in this image, the setup is done so that Spark is integrated with Hive. So that's about it. Thank you very much.